What? Can you hear me at the back? And how can you answer my question? Right, well, I'm sure you all saw the last demo we did at City Hall, and what a kick in the teeth that was for Westminster.
Yeah,
and I think a little bit of a round of applause to everyone who came out. That really was. It was tremendous. It left us all with a tremendous buzz, I've got to tell you. To think that we walked into a public building, and just by us walking into a public building, I'm reliably informed a phone call was made to a very, very senior ranking police officer, categorically stating the building was being stormed. Stormtroopers. Yeah, so indeed, the stormtroopers were sent down. And the stormtroopers immediately assessed the situation, and what a bunch of hoodlums we are. They said to me, "Are all your guys okay? We'll close the road. We don't want any of you guys hurt. And you let us know when you're ready to open it." So I think that tells us a lot. The police are very much on our side on this. A lot of their guys have been affected by this, and the same as you, they are just citizens as well. And from our committee point of view, we purposely didn't promote this today as much as we normally would, because we want to see how it's growing. And the turnout today is just mind-blowing. It really is. But I want to crave your indulgence here, because of those of you who've been following this campaign, politics unfortunately does enter into this a little bit, mainly the fact that a lot of the councillors at Westminster, who would normally see this for what it really is, are blindly following their leaders because of party loyalty, and that's what we're really fighting hard to change. But you'll know, a lot of you, that we did have a pop at the Conservatives right at the top, and I have a young son myself, so I just want to pay a little bit of respect to David Cameron, because we did have a go, and he has suffered a tremendous tragedy this week, and I just, if you don't mind, just indulge us on that. Whatever your politics are, no parent should ever bury a child. Absolutely. And I think we're all decent human beings enough to just say on that. Again, if you can just indulge me, I want to tell you a very quick story. A chap I deal with, a colleague of mine, he has a teenage son who was involved in a fracas one Friday night out in Berkshire where they live. They called the police, and the police turned up the following morning. You've all heard that sort of story before. He laid into this police officer about, "What the hell are you doing here now, 17 hours later after the event?" And he went a little bit too far, and the police officer snapped, and he turned around and he said, "You know what the problem is?" He said, "It's people like you." Because the police officer said to him, "People like you." So what are you talking about? He said, "People like you, you moan and you groan and you write in with your complaints to my superiors, but it's a well-known fact at the top, every complaint they get, they sit on it for 10 days. Because they know 90% of the protests or complaints they get, they never hear anything about again. And all the authorities work on the same basis." And if you don't believe me, you just got to see what Westminster have done on this. They thought they'd get a little bit of token resistance, would all go away, end of. They'll bring it in. Well, I think one thing's for sure, we're showing them as a committee that we're not going away. You're showing them as residents and citizens that you're not going away. But what I want to ask you guys to do, you've taken the trouble to send in your objections, you've sent in your complaints, you've all received bog standard replies. Not acceptable. Just not acceptable. You've got to follow them up. Follow them up, demand answers to your questions. You have a right to have an answer to those questions. They have auspices under the local government ombudsman. Will tell them they have to answer yours, but you've got to follow it up. And if you want to know the power of doing that, just look at Conservative MP Robert Goodwill, the Shadow Roads Minister. He was included in all these emails, and he too provided a bog standard letter which effectively said, well, we don't see anything wrong with it. It's only £1.50 and it's making a contribution. A fair number of you guys out there followed it up and said, no, you're not, you're missing the point. And sure enough, by those guys writing to him, he's now changed his tune. He's now writing saying, it's not Conservative policy, it's a Westminster policy, and we hope it doesn't spread. So that shows you that now even the Conservative Party are distancing themselves from what would normally be their flagship borough, their flagship council. They're having to distance themselves from it. Once people are really seeing what this is all about, this is just stealth taxing, as you know. And I was very pleased to see the letter from David Boothroyd. He's one of the Labour councillors who works with Councillor de Moldenberg, who you all know has been really fighting our case in there. When he said, you know that Westminster Council are rattled when, in response to the BBC story, he said, if it's good news, they'll send out the leader of the council to do the interview. If it's not so good news, they send out just the councillor. If it's bad news, they'll send out the head of the department. If it's really bad news, they'll send out a manager. Who do they send out? One size fits all. Yeah, as you know. And I think you've all seen in the forums where that got them. Again, they've made complete chumps of themselves. And, well, we know where we're at. I did say to Danny Chalkley right at the start, and I said, Danny, you had 3 advantages in your favour against us. 1, you've started this at the start of winter. 2, there's ignorance. Very few bikers actually know about this. And 3, there's apathy. I said, trouble is, now you're losing all those advantages. This turnout today proves that I'm right. The apathy is slowly turning. The bikers are getting angry. Not just bikers, your citizens. Your citizens are getting angry. We've had enough of this. Look at the weather again. It's getting warmer now. Winter's gone. This campaign is really going to start coming into its own. And one thing is coming to the fore, as I'm sure you're all starting to realise, is we're kind of getting the impression that Danny Chalkley is also a little bit of a fall guy in this. Because as a stealth tax, the Conservatives are very quick to have a go at Labour when they bring in a stealth tax on bin tax. And yet here they are acting like total like Labour councillors. They're bringing in a total stealth tax, and in true style we're starting to believe the real culprit behind this is the current leader of the council, Colin Barrow, who I'm led to believe had Chalkley's position before. And there's one comment from Alistair Gilchrist when we met him at the parliamentary meeting in which he said that they've always wanted to do this, they just never had the technology. So that implies that this idea of theirs has been around for quite a while. Again, kind of makes us think maybe Colin Barrow is the man really pushing this through, and his sidekick, Mr. Kaplan, who is head of finance, who has blown 17 million of their money in Iceland. I think they're very keen to get that back. A quick thing, I'm sure a lot of you have seen on the forum, there is a massive demonstration in France on the 21st, 22nd of March, of which quite a few of you have decided to go. So I know quite a few of the committee are going to go over there to support it. They really know how to do it over there. And I think I'm going to enjoy being over there, see how they do it, and hopefully a few of them will come back with it. We have quite, as you know, a lot of French people in our campaign. They will be there for our very big demo on the 31st.